going on, everybody? Appreciate y'all tuning to the channel today here at 323 Fabrication. So we're out here working on the Gasser today. A little bit's changed since y'all last saw it. I'm going to show you some of that. I've just been kind of trying to get some stuff accomplished because it is the, let me think, the 18th of April, and I need to be driving this thing every day to work by June the 1st. Preferably, you know, take a day trip and run down to the beach or something and back, just to get some miles on it. But some cool stuff has happened, and I'm going to turn this around and show you all that. I appreciate you tuning in with us. And if you're new to the channel, so this is my 64 Chevy II. It's got a speedway straight axle, a 9-inch forward out back with 35 splines, and a 456 gear. It's a streetcar, Gasser, two-door post. I love it. I love old race cars. This is not an old race car. This is a 6-cylinder power glide car that somebody was building a race car out of, and we bought the roller and then fixed a bunch of stuff. But I love it. It looks good from about 50 feet, and that's kind of how I like my cars. If you're into patina and crusty stuff, go back on the channel. You'll see a whole bunch of it, because that's kind of what we do. So without further ado, let me flip this around and show you what we got going on. All right, guys, first and foremost, look at those wheels. Those ET 15x10s look so good on this car. Totally changed the look of the car, in my opinion. It had 15x10 American racing wheels on it with some gargantuous tires. These are kind of smaller tires. I ordered some 3-inch studs from Summit with a big order I just made, so that the studs will actually stick through, and I'm going to try to see if I can find some half-inch spacers to put on it to kind of make up some of this fender gap. But they really don't look that bad. They're just farther under the car than I'm used to, and that's because we had these monsters on there. These are 295 6515 Mickey Thompsons on a 15x10 American racing wheel. They were on there. But if y'all didn't know it, I'm kind of into wheels. I really like slots, and we threw those on there, and they just kind of made the car. So I ordered some street tires because we're going to do 1,300 miles in this car. We're going to Hot Rod Power Tour 2023, and we are in a hurry. We got to make it, because if we don't, we're going to lose the shop, right? Ain't that how that works? There's a motor that's going in it, 5.3 LS, 799 heads. It's getting a tick polluter, V2 camshaft, and all the fun stuff that goes with it, leaving the bottom end alone, other than an oil pump. But that'll be fun. I'll order some more parts for that today. And there's holes in those valve covers. Y'all tell me what that means. But here we go. Old Chevy II. So this was a 383 small block 4-speed car, and I hurt the motor, and so now we're moving the shifter location over, because it was right there in that spot, because it was side shifted. It was a Muncie, and then I had this piece in here to clear the shift linkage, because I wasn't buying another tail housing and shifter to do it the correct way, and I didn't really care anyway. So now I got this big old hole to fill. But don't worry, I'll fill it up, weld it down, clean it up, grind it up, paint it. It'll be all good. Or you can just leave it and have foot air conditioning. This is a trans cross member that I cut up and modified, and that way we could. It's about, the width of it, about 4 inches farther back for the mount for the T56. But our drive shaft works. The drive shaft we had built for the car before, which is what's important. And so Dad's put a coat of paint on this. It's drying. We're gonna flip it over and paint the rest of it. And I've been in here cutting stuff out of the car. So that's kind of what we got going on. Oh, check this out. McLeod dual disc clutch. Came with the T56 I bought from Tom. Appreciate that, Tom. This is really cool. Never had nothing this nice. We'll clean that up, put it together. I just got it down to look at it. And then a bunch of parts for the car. Check out them Doug's fenderwell headers. Now, if you don't like fenderwell headers, you're not an American. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I should say that's un-American. I don't know, who cares? Fenderwell headers, everything should have a V8 and fenderwell headers. Just my opinion. And probably a straight axle too. That's what we got going on, guys. I'm gonna do some CAD, figure out what I gotta have sheet metal wise, get some pieces out, get them cut, And if you don't know what CAD is, that's cardboard aided design. So I got to get some, well, that's my keep from throwing sparks on everything stuff. So anyway, I'm gonna get some cardboard out and we're gonna make some pieces to fill this in and go from there. But once we get this knocked out and get it painted, I'll start pulling the MSD out of the car and we'll start wiring up our Holley terminator, which I am stoked about because I am not a tuner. I tune that little S10 with a 5.3 LS and nitrous on HP tuners, and they say Holley is so much easier to use, so that's what we got. All right, y'all, you can see I got my CAD computer out. This is what we got going on. So I'm gonna start here and get it filled around to this front edge where the straight line is. That way, when I bend this piece over here, it'll be, you know, maybe I can do it. It's probably gonna take 3 pieces or 4 pieces to do it because I'm gonna have to wrap around here. But this is temporary. This is just to hold this still, trying to keep it flat and where I had it. But what I've got so far, see if I can get around here to it where y'all can see. Oh. So what I have gotten so far is this piece here. And what it'll do is it kind of fits in there. And then this piece ties to it, and it should bring us pretty close to around that front edge and fill the panel in. It might stay long enough for me to pick the camera up so you can see. Oh, that part fell out. But you get the general idea. Nothing too crazy about this. It is literally just cardboard. And I know it's rough, but what's really awesome about a MIG welder is it is so easy to fill all these gaps and stuff. And so the idea is to get it as close as possible, and then I can massage the metal, get it flat, bend it in and out wherever I want it, and just butt weld it all up. And I drop that piece down there so y'all can see it, the little filler piece, but you'll get the idea of it. So I got some, I don't know what this is, 18 gauge, 20 gauge, something like that, 22. Just lay the piece there. And the reason it's not straight, you know, is because it's got a compound curve. So I'll be able to bend this and it should follow it around. That's the filler piece. So I'll cut this out, knock the edges off of it, and then we'll go in there and see how it fits. Say, do as I say, not as I do, right? So I definitely should have ground the paint off all of this, but once you get a few tacks on there, it kind of burns away. But that's that filler piece, and of course I'll grind all these welds down and clean it up, wire wheel everything, get all the loose paint before we paint it. But that's kind of what I was going for. It's filled in. Now there's a little bit of an overhang down here on this end, but that's not a problem because I'm gonna have to paint the underside too, and what I'll do is I'll go down here and trim this off, clean it up, wire wheel everything, and that won't matter. It won't be there, and then we'll paint it real good. So, plan for tomorrow, I'll probably start back here and try to rebuild this piece up to here somewhere. Maybe one piece, I don't know how, that's gonna be kind of difficult. I definitely will do a piece here to here. Then I might have to build a piece here because this is kind of a compound deal where I cut part of this seat mount thing out. And then we'll work on that up there. But shouldn't be too bad. A couple more afternoons, it'll be ready to paint. collapsed a little bit of it, but this is a lot of in and out of the car and cutting and trimming and beating and banging, and went ahead and welded it all out. So figure with the first couple pieces y'all kind of got the gist of it. It's not the prettiest thing ever, but it looks a whole lot better than it did. Let me reach over here and get this. So this is the piece that I cut out of it. And you can see how much tighter the tunnel is. A couple of inches right there, but I had plenty of room on the trans, so it shouldn't be an issue. But anyway, that's why I did all that, because this is gonna get insulated and get carpet, and that wasn't gonna look real good. So there you go. It's kind of what we come up with. It ain't the prettiest thing, but it is functional. And so now what I'm gonna do is buff down all these welds and wire wheel everything around it so we can get some paint on it. I'll do the same thing under the car. And then that part of it's done. And that would conclude the welding and fabricating part of it, other than exhaust when we have to change that. But Dad painted the cross member. Where's the cross member?
On this table, bud.
Oh, okay, thank you. I was gonna show y'all that. Dad painted the other side today, so it's nice and shiny and it's dry. That turned out good, nice and pretty. That's Rust-Oleum, oil-based enamel gloss black bite at Lowe's in a quart can. And we brush it on because it's the underside of the car and it holds up really well. And that's how the whole underside of this car is done. Wire wheeled everything and then put a coat of that on it. So that's what this will end up with. And I would like to get some insulation in it before we go. I might go ahead and plug these holes for the time being where the cage should be, because they're not necessary. I might see if I can find something to fill them with, I don't know. But if not, I'll just cut a piece out and go ahead and weld that up while I'm doing stuff. And then that kind of wraps it up for that. So we'll do some wire wheeling and painting and buffing tomorrow, clean all that up so it looks better, smooth the welds down. It's gonna be good enough. And that's it. Well, that looks good. This side's fine. Kind of busted up. Hope everything's in it. Alrighty, let's see what we got. We got some Moser half 20 3-inch wheel studs for the back of the Chevy II. We got a torque angle meter to do LS head torque to yield head bolts and main bolts and stuff with. We got a set of Gen 2 LS head bolts. I really hope that's Gen 2. I'm gonna go look at the other number I've got to make sure. And then we've got a tap for the small head bolts. We've got a tap for the big head bolts. We've got an LS balancer bolt, ARP as well. Representing for ARP today. We have a GM factory General Motors AC Delco. There's your part number. This is your LS pilot bushing. It is a bearing, but it's considered a bushing. The bearing is the bigger one that goes in position B if you're looking at a diagram. So set that there. Then we got a set of, we got our paperwork. Let's see how many things we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. All right, we got 8 things. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. A pair of BTR LS1 head gaskets. MLS head gaskets at that. Went ahead and ordered another set while I was ordering stuff, so I didn't have to pay shipping because these are like $45. So cool, we got that. Just ain't got no stickers, but that's all right because I got a box full of Summit Racing stickers. But that's this order. Still waiting on a O-ringed Valley pan from ICT Billet. Another set of lifters for the other 5.3 from them as well. And from Tick Performance, I'm waiting on an LS3 timing cover. And we should pretty much wrap up what we got to have. Now some of this is for the S10 motor and some of this is for the Chevy II. All right, the plan, I'm gonna knock some of the big stuff down and buff on these welds and clean all this up and then wire wheel it so it's ready for paint, and then I'll go under the bottom side and do the same thing. I'm not gonna film any of that because it's not gonna be any fun to watch. It's just grinding and cleaning up stuff. But that's basically the gist of it, so I'll show it to you when I'm done. All right, everybody. Been down here polishing and buffing and wire wheeling. It's gotta be wiped down before we can paint it. But we did the same thing on the inside. Went ahead and got the cardboard and junk out and vacuumed. But you can see, looks better than it did. It'll look real good when it's painted. But the biggest thing was just kind of make the welds a little smaller. It's not perfect, it's not factory. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that it's functional. And we'll paint it so it doesn't rust anymore. And we'll be ready to rock and roll. But that's the plan. I'm gonna wipe it down with some acetone. We're gonna start painting it. That way it can be drying, be that much farther ahead, and I'll start pulling electronics out of it. Okay. It's got a coat of paint on it. Looking pretty good, all buffed down. Might have to put a second coat on. I am gonna put carpet and insulation in the car this time. But Dad got a coat on this and a few other spots that were kind of bare where we'd knocked the paint off of them, and then I turned the quart of paint over in the floor, so that spot right there will never rust. But pretty well good to go. Well, y'all, there it is. The motor mount's been done, the trans cross member's done, and now the shifter location in the floor and the floor around it is done. So I'd say that's a wrap for that part of it. Tomorrow we'll start pulling all the electronics and everything out of the car and start prepping for wiring. Probably go ahead and change the front leaf springs. We got to change the rear wheel studs, tighten some stuff up under the rear end, change the fuel pump and the regulator, which I've already got that stuff. But anyway, that's what we got going on. So y'all tune in the episode next time and see how much more progress we can make. It is the 20th of April, so we're getting closer. But we're making pretty good progress on this. I think we're going to be all right for Hot Rod Power Tour. But I appreciate y'all tuning in. I appreciate all our new subscribers. Y'all be blessed.